spent my savings on her rehab. The day she got clean, she dumped me for her sober coach, saying we had nothing in common anymore. I sent her an invoice for medical support on her way out. She laughed until her credit score tanked and her new guy left her. My brother Jake called me crying at 2 a.m. 3 years ago. Motorcycle accident, spine surgery. No insurance because he'd let it lapse to buy crypto. I was 34 with $112,000 saved for a house. By the time Jake left the hospital, I had $18,000 left. Let that sink in. The first surgery was $47,000. The second was $31,000. Physical therapy, medications, specialists, another $16,000 over 18 months. I paid every cent because that's what family does. At least that's what I told myself while watching my house fund evaporate. Jake moved into my apartment during recovery. I converted my home office into his room, drove him to PT 3 times a week, held him when he cried about never walking again. He walked again. 8 months of grueling work, but he did it. The day he took his first steps without a walker, I recorded it, sent it to our parents. Everyone was crying happy tears. That night, Jake sat me down. I need to talk to you about something. His voice was different. Practiced. I've been meeting with a therapist, he said, and she helped me realize that you've been controlling during my recovery. I blinked. Controlling? The way you tracked my appointments, monitored my medications, made me feel guilty about the money. He wouldn't meet my eyes. It caused significant emotional trauma. I almost laughed. Almost. Jake, I managed your care because you couldn't. You were on painkillers and couldn't remember what day it was. See, that's exactly what she's talking about. He pulled out an envelope. I'm suing you for $150,000 in emotional damages. My therapist recommended a lawyer who specializes in family abuse cases. The room tilted. I'd spent 18 months emptying my savings, destroying my sleep schedule, and putting my entire life on hold, and he was calling it abuse. The lawyer says we have a strong case, Jake continued. The financial pressure you put on me during recovery, the controlling behavior, the way you made every medical decision. I made decisions because you signed a healthcare proxy giving me authority, I said slowly, because you asked me to. Under duress. I was vulnerable. I stood up and walked to my filing cabinet. Jake watched nervously. Remember this? I held up a 3-page document. The repayment agreement you signed when you moved in, the one where you acknowledged the $94,000 as a loan, not a gift, the one that specified a payment plan once you returned to work. His face went gray. You also signed a separate document acknowledging that all medical decisions were made with your informed consent, reviewed by your primary physician. That won't hold up. My lawyer says differently. The same lawyer I consulted when you started acting strange 3 weeks ago. Jake's therapist turned out to be his new girlfriend's life coach. 0 credentials. The lawyer was her cousin, recently disbarred in 2 states, but practicing under a different name. Jake's lawsuit was dismissed in the initial hearing. The judge called it a transparently frivolous attempt to evade legitimate debt. My countersuit for the original $94,000, plus 18 months of lost wages from reducing my work hours to care for him, is still pending. Jake moved in with a girlfriend. She dumped him 2 months later when she realized he wasn't getting a payout. He's now living in our parents' basement, working at a warehouse, and making $400 monthly payments toward what he owes me. Every time I deposit that check, I think about the night I held him while he sobbed that he'd never walk again. He walks fine now. He just can't walk back from this.